Hello everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you never miss a video. Let's get into it. On the 2nd of October 2020, I stopped taking hormonal contraception after being on it for 9 years. And we're going to talk about it. We are going to bust some myths. We're going to talk about experiences, my personal experiences, and what it's like being free from the shackles of hormonal contraception. Quick disclaimer, this video is based purely on my own experiences. If you have got any questions or concerns regarding contraception, please do visit your local GP or a sexual health clinic. So when I was 16, I had my first proper boyfriend and I wanted to go on some form of contraception. Now, I believe sex education has evolved massively since I was at school, but I didn't know enough about contraception, and it was during a time where everyone was just on the pill. So I looked into all these different things and I was too scared to get a coil, and I didn't want the implant or the injection, and patches just didn't seem like they were going to be reliable for me. So I went with the pill. Got put on that when I was 16 and never really thought twice about it. About 3 years ago, I started to get really bad migraines. I am talking debilitating. And I'd never really had them before. These were lasting days at a time, and nothing was shifting them. I just had to sit through it. It was horrible. So when I came to Australia, they'd actually started getting worse to the point where I needed to see a professional. So I went to my doctor, she referred me over to a neurologist. I had loads of scans, went in the big tube, and I was prescribed some medication for migraines. This included preventative medication and symptom relieving medication. After I went back to my doctor, she talked about how the combined pill can actually be responsible for giving people headaches. So she popped me onto the mini pill. I was taking this again for a few more months and it wasn't really making a difference. And I'd been talking to a few friends about my experiences and their experiences and just looking for some advice in terms of what my best option would be moving forward. After dinner with a friend, I made the decision to stop taking all forms of hormonal contraception. And here's where it gets good. Now, don't get me wrong, I am incredibly grateful that I was in a position to have the pill offered to me as a form of contraception. It served its purpose and I am very thankful for that, but it was just time for a change. So here we are a year later, and I can hands down say it is the best decision I have ever made. As I said, this is going to be based on my own personal experiences. Please do not take this as gospel. If you have a serious concern or any concern or question about contraception, the best person to speak to is your GP. So the first thing, and probably the most important thing that I noticed when I stopped taking the pill, was my migraines disappeared. I have not had a single migraine in a year. If I start to get a headache, I can now just pop a couple of painkillers and it's gone in minutes. I noticed so many other changes over the last few months as well. A big one was with my skin. So for some people, when they come off of contraception, their skin can be really affected, and mine definitely was. I had for about, I'd say between 6 and 8 months, a lot of really bad breakouts along my jaw, my chin, in those really typical places that you tend to get your spots when your hormones are changing. I am in a really fortunate position that I had some treatments done. I've had some skin peels and microdermabrasion, and I've got a really top-notch skincare routine, if I do say so myself, which I will do some videos about these things in the future, about all the treatments that I've had for my skin and my routine. But now it's been a year, it's finally, I think, at the end of its purge, and my skin is doing pretty good. A big change that I noticed is my energy levels. I have had so much more energy in this last year than I feel like I've had for a really long time, which some people may find really hard to believe. If you know me, if we're quite close, then you know I can be a very energetic person, quite an annoying person probably, but I'm finally starting to feel that my energy levels are good and I'm not feeling quite as lethargic, and I am here for it. Another thing that went up for me was my sex drive. Now, it's very common that when you are on antidepressants that your sex drive is squashed. So having that in combination with the contraceptive pill, let's just say I definitely wasn't myself in that department. Now I feel like I'm kind of getting my groove back, and I'm starting to feel that my body is responding so much more positively. It's been fantastic. A big thing that I've noticed is my mood swings are a lot less frequent. Notice that I didn't say they have stopped. I don't think they'll ever stop. I'm a human being. I have emotions. I have mood swings. Everyone does. But I'm feeling that they are a lot less frequent. Again, this comes with a combination of being on antidepressants as well. So I feel that things are finally starting to level out. For the first time in those 9 years, I feel in control of my body, and I feel that everything is working as naturally as possible, and it makes me feel so good. I'm so glad I made this decision. Some people might be worried about tracking their period or their fertility or their ovulation whilst they are coming off of contraception or going on to contraception. Something that I used that really helped was the app Flow. I paid for the premium version, not full price, it was like 80% off, so it was fine. But I find it so useful. I know exactly when my period is going to be due. It tells me all about what my symptoms mean throughout my cycle and what to expect, as well as advice in terms of your lifestyle, your diet, self-care, sexual health, everything. It is definitely one of my most favourite apps on my phone, and I use it every single day. Speaking of periods, that is something that changed quite significantly since I came off the pill. I've noticed that the first day of my period is definitely a lot heavier and a lot more painful than it used to be. One of the reasons that I started to take the pill when I was about 16 was because I used to suffer with excruciating, horrendous period cramps and period pains. So the first day of my cycle does tend to be a little bit of a struggle in terms of that pain and the heaviness of my flow. But overall, my periods are a lot shorter. Now, of course, when you're on the pill, you don't actually have proper periods. You have what is called a withdrawal bleed. And that is what happens in the week that you don't take your pill. My period used to last pretty much the whole of that week that I had off, and even sometimes into starting my next packet again. Whereas now I'm done in like 3 or 4 days, which I am so thankful for. If I were to talk about downsides of coming off the pill, there's definitely, if my period is late, I do have that fear and that scare because we are just using non-hormonal contraception now. Fancy way of saying we use condoms. So there is always that initial worry if I'm later than what I'm expecting, but we're pretty careful. And as I said, I do use Flow to track all of my symptoms and my cycle. I honestly feel that my body is almost relieved that it is doing its own thing now. What I do want to mention is that it might not be for everybody. So if you are still taking hormonal contraception and it's working for you, then keep doing that. I'm not saying that you have to stop just because of my experiences. There might be other alternatives if you are struggling, but if you do want to take the plunge and become pill-free, then there's lots of information out there to support you on that journey. Something that I read was this book here. It is called The Period Repair Manual, and it is by Laura Brydon. It is amazing. This book is fantastic. There are chapters about how to come off of hormonal birth control. It talks about what your period should be like. It talks about things like PCOS or endometriosis. It's everything that you need to know to support you in what you're going through with your hormones and with your periods and your individual cycle. So I will leave a link to this in the bio. I definitely recommend it. I'd love to know if any of you had any similar stories or experiences, whether you've come off of contraception, trying something new, or just have an experience that you want to talk about and discuss with us. Pop your thoughts in the comments section, let's have a discussion and keep this a nice open topic. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. It's been an absolute pleasure. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss the next one, and I will see you all very soon. See you later.